Welcome back to my YouTube channel and thanks so much for your support. I have to say, wow, we had 10,000 views and 150 comments on my first video. I was blown away, really. I didn't expect that. I did it as a bit of a test and also playing around trying to learn some video. And I really like watching YouTube and I thought, why not give it a go? So if you haven't seen my link if you haven't seen my first video, I'll add the link below. It's just about my experience from testing out a Sony system for a week. So after a week, I shot 4 jobs, around 3,000 images, and I'd have to say it's a very good system. So what have I decided to do? Am I going to stay with Nikon or go to Sony? Well, I've made my decision, and underneath here is my decision for the camera gear I'll be using in 2018. So let's have a look. Ta-da! Yeah, you probably guessed it. I've decided to go with Sony. Am I 100% happy? Well, not really, to be honest, but there is no perfect camera, and right now for what I need, I think the Sony is a pretty much perfect system, but it has got some problems. I'd like to thank Photocashion, which is the biggest camera shop in Madrid, for giving me some great prices on this gear. If you're ever in Madrid, check them out. Great place, great people. They speak English and they can sort you out with everything. 4K autofocus is really good. I've been testing it out and the tracking focus is really good. The tracking, the face detective, it's a great system. Eye autofocus is really good. What I like about the eye autofocus is you can concentrate on working your models on the light, on getting the right photos without continuously moving your focus point, refocusing, recomposing. It just is a quicker system, I think. The EVF, as much as it doesn't give you the same experience as a digital SLR, it's really handy. I mean, the other day I was photographing a runner in the park and it was backlit, and I was overexposing for the shadows, and I just made sure I wasn't clipping any of the skin tones, so it was very handy for that. I said it before, the price. The Sony system is very competitive. Granted, all your lenses are very expensive, but at the moment with Sigma and Tamron bringing out new lenses, it will get cheaper. ISO is on par with the D4S, probably a little bit better, so I'm very happy with that. Focus speed in continuous autofocus and single spot autofocus and eye autofocus is very impressive. It's really good outside with available light, really quick to use, really easy to set up and just shoot fast. After a long day of shooting, I did a job the other day, 16 hours. I said on my first video I wasn't sure I was going to do this job, but in the end I decided I would. So I worked 16 hours from 8 in the morning to something like 3 in the morning, and I ended the day tired, but I didn't have sore shoulders, sore back, sore neck like I normally would with my Nikon gear, so that's a big plus. Sometimes the eye autofocus doesn't work. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but for some reason you press the button and it doesn't lock on, and it really throws you, especially if you're working with a model and you're working fast. I turn the camera on and off, and then sometimes it works again. Maybe I have to turn the camera on and off twice. So that, maybe if anyone out there is getting this and has worked out a workaround, can you please put a comment? I'd love to know. The EVF in low light is grainy. I was shooting a conference the other day, this 16-hour job, and I was shooting about 5,000 ISO. I'm going to show you some examples. So everything you see in this video has been shot this week on the A7 Mark III. And the EVF was grainy in low light. What else? The menu. Look, I said the menu you're going to get used to, and you will get used to it, but it doesn't feel like a photographer's made this menu. where Nikon and Canon really have it down, and you know, it is a bit annoying. You forget where things are. I've been going back and forth, and it is a bit annoying. The battery life, this surprised me. Now, everyone is raving about the new battery, the Z battery. It is good, but it's not as good as the D850. I shot on the other day 16 hours, and I shot maybe 1,200 images, and I went through 2 batteries easily. On the D850, I would have been fine with 1. Anyway, I bought 3 batteries, so it's okay. What else we got? Okay, this was interesting. After 2 hours of shooting in the studio the other day, around 800 photos, the camera started really heating up. And I mean, I've heard about the Sony's heating up and turning off, and it is a problem. But I wasn't shooting video, this was stills. So that surprised me, and it made me think, how is this camera going to hold up to professional use day in, day out? You know, quite often I'm in the studio for a few hours shooting a lot of photos. So, you know, luckily Sony are offering a 5-year guarantee at the moment on these bodies, so that's peace of mind. But I'd like to see how this camera holds up in the next couple of years. One other thing that, you know, I'm going to sound like a bit of an idiot saying, and I said I didn't need the file size. 25 megapixel is perfect and it's fine, but I've been using the D850 for the last 6 months, so I've been spoilt. I've got a little bit lazy with cropping, and you know, I've got a massive file size I can work with when I'm editing. So it's not a problem, I just need to start cropping in camera again, tighter images. Okay, the ugly thing, the worst thing about this camera that the YouTubers and the people that are on these press junkets aren't telling you is the autofocus in low light is pretty average. The lenses, especially on the 70-200 and the 24-70, the only 2 lenses I have, it actually hunts. Not all the time, but when I was photographing this conference, I was in a dark room. It was about 5,000 ISO at f4 at maybe 1/25th. So, you know, it was dark. But I found the lenses hunting, and I never had a problem with this with a D4S or a D850. And also, in the studio the other day, I was photographing, and it wasn't that dark in my house. I had some flashlights set up, and I had to set up a LED for focusing. So, I mean, there is a workaround, but it's not great. I mean, it doesn't give you confidence in low light. If I was a wedding photographer or an event photographer, and I was working all the time with these two jobs, I would definitely test the camera before changing over. I changed over basically because I'm a camera geek. I've heard a lot about the A7 Mark III. I've heard a lot about the Sony cameras in recent years, and I wanted to try it out. And also, I've got 3 very good mates in Australia that have actually changed over, commercial photographers. They've been in the industry for 25-30 years. They've been shooting Canon for the last 20 years. And I think my mate changed over to the A7R2 and now 3 around 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And my other mate's got the A9. And they have been raving about it. So I have a lot of confidence with those guys, and I thought it was worth a go. And also, well, the main real reason is the A7 Mark III fits me better. I really need 4K autofocus for my work. I also need better ISO, and the size. I travel back and forth to Australia a fair bit, and every time I get on a plane, I freak out the night before. I normally have 20-25 kilos of gear that I have to get on the plane, and it's always a stress. A note for any photographer traveling: BA now allows you to have 25 kilos of take-on luggage flying to Asia and Australia from Europe. So check that, guys. My final thoughts. If I had the money, I would keep both cameras, both systems, both are great. Do I think Nikon is better than Sony or Sony is better than Nikon? No, they're different. They're both very, very good for professional use. If you look at the sales in the last 3 to 5 years on all digital cameras, you know, with the progression of the iPhone and Samsung, the sales are down. And if you look at Sony and Nikon as companies, Sony is a much stronger company. So maybe in the future, it's going to be a better option to stay Sony. And especially the fact that Sony are making all the sensors. And I just found out that Sony made the 850. So now that Sony are making these great cameras, are they going to continue giving the same chips, or are they going to hold the good chips back for themselves? I don't know. The Nikon probably have a contract for years with them, but that is something to think about. If I didn't need the good ISO or better ISO than the D850, and also 4K video and autofocus in 4K video, I would have stayed with Nikon. The fact is, for my work now, I do need these things, and so it's the Sony A7 Mark III really fits me for my work at the moment. If I was an event photographer or a wedding photographer, I would think seriously about testing this gear before you bought it. I found the autofocus in low light not to be a problem, but you could miss things because it does hunt a little bit. It feels like maybe you're using an older digital SLR, maybe like a D3 or a D300 or a D80 or something like that. The focusing really in low light was not as good as the current digital SLRs, in my opinion. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but that's my opinion. I'd like to thank everyone for watching these videos. If you'd like to know anything else, any other videos you'd like to do, please put a comment below. And thanks guys, keep shooting, enjoy whatever camera you have. It's not the camera, it's photographer, always. Have a great day. Thanks a lot. See ya.